In this lecture, we'll talk about freezing panes. In an Excel 2016 worksheet, you have over 1 million rows to work with and over 16,000 columns to work with. Now, if you start to add so much data that you can't see it all in one screen, there are some cool features to help you with getting things lined up. We can freeze rows and columns, also known as panes, and that's what we're going to do in this lecture. With our Land and Hotels revenue sheet, go ahead and select RH underscore revenues 0205 if you're getting caught up. There can also be an issue when you zoom in. Let's go down to our zoom slider down below. You'll see we're currently at 100%. Let's click the plus sign and go to 140%. Well, let's go a little bit higher to 150%. And you'll notice now we have a scroll bar that allows us to scroll from left to right. And so when we go over to the right, we see the last few columns. We can no longer see the first column with our locations. So when we look at those values, we can't really line them up with anything unless we memorize that. Okay, they were London, Paris, San Francisco, Hong Kong. Wouldn't it be better if we could always see this content? That means freezing column A. And when we scroll down, at one point, we will eventually lose our January, February, March. We will eventually lose the months, and we'll have no idea of what months we're looking at. So, let's begin talking about freezing panes. The first thing we'll do is go to the View tab on the ribbon. And give it a click if you're not already there. You will see a Freeze Panes drop down. So if we click that, we have an option to freeze panes, freeze the top row, or freeze the first column. So let's give the option a click to freeze the first column. So I'll go ahead and click that. Notice the invisible line, kind of shaded dotted line. So this way, if we scroll over, our first column is always there with us. So when we go all the way back over to our totals, we can see the totals line and then the actual values of that first column. So let's scroll back to the left, and instead of just freezing column A, we also want to freeze column A and also any of the rows above, row number 6, so that we can always see January, February, March, etc. So in this case, we'll go down to the drop down, freeze panes, and we will select the option to unfreeze panes. So we'll give that a click. You can see it unfreezes the first column. And now we can choose exactly what we want to freeze. We want everything to the left of column B and everything above. So from rows 1 through 5, we also want that. So that means clicking below row 5, which means clicking in cell B6. We will be able to see everything to the left and everything above when we go back up to freeze panes. And this time, let's go back up there, click that, and we'll say freeze panes. And notice the dotted fainted lines. This allows us to freeze both rows and columns at the same time. Now, look what happens when we scroll down. You'll notice that our Our months are always there for us. And then when we scroll over to the right, you'll also notice that our locations are always there. So we always know what data we're looking at, thanks to freezing panes here in Excel. Let's zoom back out to 100%.